This tiny little drone is the MJX V1, and it is a mini drone. It's a foldable Mavic Mini looking drone, but it's really small. This thing has a handful of fun little features and an HD camera. Now it's about $50, and is this worth your money? Let's take a closer look. Alright, so here is what you need to know about this tiny little drone. Now it has brushed motors, which means they're not going to be as powerful as efficient, but brushed motors help keep the cost down. This camera claims to be an HD camera, and while it kind of is, it's not going to be high quality HD. You can move this camera up and down, but you got to do that manually before you take off. Batteries are inexpensive and they charge via USB. I recommend if you're picking one of these up, get a 2 or 3 battery package. It's just a couple extra dollars for an extra battery. Now the batteries will get you, they say, up to 12 minutes of flight, and that's in optimum conditions. You can expect to get maybe 10, probably closer to 8, especially if you're flying on a day outside with any kind of wind. This little guy does have altitude hold, but there is no optical flow camera on the bottom. That means it'll maintain altitude, but it's gonna drift a tiny little bit. Now this little guy is gonna be less than 250 grams, so you don't have to register it. And in terms of size, this is the Bugs 19. This is basically their Mavic Mini clone, and you can see it's a lot smaller. It's a lot smaller and lighter, and that means it's not gonna do great in wind. When we compare it to their MG1, again, super small. This thing here is basically their Mavic Air 2 clone. The V1 here is a decent drone for a beginner, and it's small enough that you can fly it inside. Let's talk about some of these fun little features that it has. Looking at the remote, when you fold this little piece up, this is where you're gonna put your smartphone. It's gonna connect to your smartphone via Wi-Fi. That's gonna give you a video feed of what you're seeing from the camera. Now, it's gonna record directly to your phone, so you're gonna need to keep this thing close. They say it has a range of about 50 meters, and that's pushing it just a bit. This button up top here is your camera photo button. Short press takes a picture, long press starts to record. In the other corner here, we've got our modes button, right? One tap will get this thing to start spinning around in circles, and a long press will get it to do an orbit. That's actually a pretty cool little feature. Now, if I press the right stick down and then move it in some direction, it's going to flip in that direction. That's kind of fun. On the bottom here, we have our automatic takeoff and land button. So you press this button, takes off, press this button, it lands. You can also toss the drone to make it take off, and you gotta do it kind of forcefully, otherwise it doesn't recognize the toss and it's gonna fall to the ground. I had no problems doing that. Chris, on the other hand, had some issues. We've got your high-low speed toggle here in the middle. I highly recommend you keep it in high speed, especially if you're flying outside. It's just not powerful enough to fight the wind in low speed at all. And then this button down here is your headless mode. Do not fly in headless mode. It just gets things confusing, so kind of avoid that button altogether. Overall, this thing reminded me a lot of a drone that I just reviewed. This is the 4D-RC Elf. There'll be a link in the video description if you want to check that out. But the 4D-RC here has optical flow, which means it's a lot more stable than the MJX V1 here. But the MJX V1 also has a camera. This guy didn't, but I think you can get it with one. And it has those orbit and spin modes, which are kind of fun. To get this little guy up in the air, step 1, you're gonna unfold the drone. Front arms have to go out first, otherwise you'll have a problem. Step 2, turn it on. Little press on the bottom. Now the next step is to open up your Wi-Fi settings and connect to the Wi-Fi coming out of the drone. In this case, mine says FPV 1037D3. Okay. Then I'm going to open up the free MDrone app, and I'm gonna click enter device, right? Then I'm gonna go ahead and set this little guy on my controller, power my controller on, and I'm gonna do an up, down with the left stick. Now we're paired. Now I get the propeller spinning by moving my sticks. I get the propeller spinning by moving my sticks to the inside corners, down and in. And I press the takeoff button, and boom, it's gonna fly. I don't recommend flying that close to yourself indoors. So who would I recommend this drone for? Well, I would say a beginner, a child, someone that's looking for an inexpensive toy. It's not going to take great pictures and video, but it's good for kind of looking at things and getting a different perspective. Let's take a look at some of that video here. So you can see right away the video here is shaky. It's not really crisp. It's not a very good sensor, right? It's just not a high quality camera. And you can also see that I'm kind of getting bounced around. This was a moderately windy day. I like this video here. You can kind of see before it takes off, look at the cars, and you can kind of judge it from that. And this is a fun flight that I put in because I'm struggling with the wind here. And yeah, I put it in a tree. But you can see the nice greens, and you'll see here the blue in my shirt, and you can kind of judge it from that maybe. What do you think? Anyway, I hope the video on this little mini drone was helpful. If it was, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you don't already, and check us out on Patreon if you want to help support this channel. Good luck, everyone, and happy flying.